Before we begin, I wanted to apologize because the previous version of this video was a bit dull, with all these simple images, so it was a bit boring to watch. Hopefully this corrected video will fix that. I have added some more content to the review too to make it worth watching. Thank you for your patience. Welcome to this review of Mechwarrior Destiny RPG. As any review, it may contain some personal bias as it reflects just a personal opinion. Let us examine the experience for players. This game was designed to have minimum mechanics within the Battletech universe. And when I say minimum, it does not mean it is the simplest RPG in the universe. It still has a degree of crunch when you compare to simpler RPGs like Space Aces, the new guidebook. But definitely, it is far less crunchy than D&D or Star Frontiers. The idea of the system is that mechanics to a minimum allows players to focus on the narrative. There is mech scale combat, personal combat, and non-combat tests. Players have 3 options for mech scale combat. The built-in system, tabletop combat using classic Battletech or Alpha Strike. One criticism of people is that there is a conversion table from skills in this system to gunnery and piloting skills on tabletop. Yep, one more table. Who cares about one more table when you already got used to use many tables? It does not look like a very important problem. Some game masters that come from other systems often criticize the system for not having degrees of success or failure, and good events and bad ones happening aside of success or failure. Battletech has always had either success or failure, so for Battletech players that is not a problem. Who is right? Who knows? Other game masters see character creation as very simple, and for a narrative-centered system, the system surprisingly delivers everything you could find in the Battletech universe. Childhood, education, and real life are part of the character's profile. Marketing of this game centered around narrative and minimum mechanics would give the wrong impression that character creation would be mild and mediocre, but it is not. The way in which skills are created is solid. People could think that a Mechwarrior RPG game would be only about Mechwarriors, but no. You could make your character be a member of Comstar without combat skills. Or it could be a merchant from the clans. Or perhaps a tech who spends his life fixing mechs. Or you could have a spy or a farmer or a mercenary or a noble, and I could go on and on. Basically anything that could exist in Battletech universe can be turned into a character in this game. Anything. This is how well made this game is. All this spectrum of characters would be useless if players had no agency. Instead of being trapped in a predefined character arc, players are free to develop their characters as they want. The game provides positive and negative traits that improve or cause problems to characters. The character arc would be defined by the way in which a player decides to make a negative trait to evolve and be removed. Or it may not be removed completely, but still, the character learns lessons after having these traits, and that defines the evolution of a character. There is absolute freedom and agency for the player to treat the character in the way they want. Since the game is not confined to a dungeon, there is freedom to move to places across the galaxy. So not only players have agency, they are free to do what they want, not confined by a location or room, and since the game does not require to use miniatures, freedom is absolute. Characters really exist in the kingdom of imagination. With minimum mechanics, mostly skill checks and combat checks, the game master has the ability to focus in storytelling. Is the game balanced or not? It depends on what you understand with balance. Whether the game has the right amount of crafting, dialogue, companions, and reactivity or not. As you have noticed, a game that is centered on narration will have the balance that the game master and players bring to the game. Despite not being the simplest of RPGs, it offers way less crunch than other RPG systems. So narrative prevails. Customization. How much freedom the game offers for customization. As the game has mechanics that can be adapted to different circumstances, the game allows freedom to players and game masters to create adventures. However, as its pool of prefabricated characters and adventures is finite, it became clear that game masters need supplements. There are no official supplements, but there are some fan-made ones. The built-in combat system allows to measure distances as the number of areas between attacker and target. With the absence of a hex map and tokens, this becomes a one-dimensional combat. However, fan-made hex maps change the whole game. It allows some of the same battles you could have on tabletop with a smaller hex map. Combat becomes very portable. What do you think? Another issue is that the system does not include infantry, only vehicles, aerospace, and mechs. And rules for aerospace are not explained in detail, so combined arms battles become a bit harder to implement with the built-in system. In that situation, it will be better to use tabletop combat with classic or alpha strike rules. Also, if you want to include NPCs, you will need to create the character in Mechwarrior Destiny and then convert to tabletop, and not the other way around. Let us analyze accessibility now. How easy is the game to use, and how well does it assist players? The game teaches game masters how to perform in their role of game master, and how to deal with very common situations a game master faces in a group. And the system is simple enough to make casual gamers to play without worrying about mechanics getting in the way of fun. When we talk about how much the game costs, the rulebook has the standard price of Battletech rulebooks. The rulebook has a layout problem. Some people consider that the rulebook is messy and not very well organized. My experience is that chapters are well written. However, chapters are not placed in logical order. The book starts with how to play the game, then mech scale combat, then tips for game masters. Then character creation, then prefabricated characters, then prefabricated missions. Then a catalog of weapons, vehicles, mechs, and aerospace. Then rules to integrate classic and alpha strike. Then rules to add clans with prefabricated characters, and catalog of mechs, vehicles, and aerospace. A more intuitive layout would start with character creation, then how to play the game, and catalogs of prefabricated characters, mechs, vehicles, and aerospace. And missions would be better at the very end. Everything is there, and explanations are good. It is just a problem of the order of chapters. Now let us see some house rules. Mechwarrior Destiny handles its economy via XP points, but there are always those who want to use money. C-bills are the official inner sphere currency. A house rule to convert XP to C-bills goes as follows. 1 battle XP equals 1 million C-bills. 1 XP equals 500,000 C-bills. C-bill prices for equipment and armor can be found in Tech Manual. Now let's talk about pros and cons. Pros: simpler and less crunchy than other RPG systems. Allows more narrative and minimum mechanics. Can be played without miniatures. Among the cons, the built-in combat system does not include infantry. There is no support for supplements from Catalyst Game Labs. However, fan-made supplements can be helpful to solve this issue. Combat without hex maps is one-dimensional in the built-in mech scale combat system. This can be solved using the fan-made hex maps and terrain tokens and some miniatures. Hex maps made by fans for Mechwarrior Destiny are small and portable. Also, some people do not like the use of XP instead of money for repair and buying units and equipment. This can be fixed with the house rules described before. There is no consensus about which system is better for Battletech. There were several editions of Mechwarrior RPG games. There were 3 old editions, and the current, A Time of War, is considered the 4th edition of that game, which some people say it is very crunchy, but others love it. Rumors say, take with a grain of salt, that there will be a 5th edition that will be less crunchy. Some people say 2nd edition is better. Others say 1st edition is the best. Some people like Mechwarrior Destiny over 2nd edition, and so on. There is no agreement, just contradictory points of view. With so many contradictions, there is no way to say one system is superior than another. Mechwarrior Destiny was my entry point to the world of RPG. I failed to grasp D&D and Star Frontiers, but I could handle Mechwarrior Destiny. So newbie game masters and casual players can enjoy this game. I am the living proof of that. Mechwarrior Destiny is a standalone product made to address the need of a simpler RPG system. No further support is expected aside of fan-made supplements. Thank you for listening to this review. It would be a good time to like this video and subscribe to the channel and leave your comment about your experience with Mechwarrior RPG systems.